Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Could you please take your seats so we can go ahead and get started? Good evening, and thanks for coming out tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank Councilwoman Betty Guardado and her staff at District 5 for welcoming everyone to Washington Activity Center tonight so we can talk about the budget and our budget process, as well as some other things I think the Councilwoman wants to relay. By way of background, we also have translator Elsie Duarte here. So Elsie, could you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Elsie Duarte and I will be servicing as the interpreter for today's budget audience. I will now introduce myself to our Spanish-speaking audience. Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos a la reunión del presupuesto el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Elsie y estaré sirviéndoles con la interpretación. Para escuchar la interpretación, si gustan pasar a la segunda mesa de la entrada y les proveeremos unos audífonos o bien pueden alzar su mano y yo se los haré llegar. Gracias por su atención. Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias, Elsie. So it's my pleasure to introduce Councilwoman Betty Guardado, who wants to go over a couple of things with you, and then we'll go into our normal budget presentation.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys all so much for being with us today. So we just want to do a little bit of a recap on what is it that has happened in this area in the last year, maybe in the last 2 years, maybe stuff that we've been talking about. I always repeat this, and maybe you guys will always hear me saying this about the greatest project that we've talked about. Since the day I came into office was my first meeting with Jeff Spellman. Jeff, raise your hand. Big kudos to Jeff for all of his hard work in this area. I don't take any of the credit of anything that I'm about to present. It's all the work that you guys have done, that you guys have led us to believe is the right thing to do in this area. So we have a little bit of a PowerPoint. So we're gonna start with community safety plans. And for those of you that live in neighborhood along 19th Avenue or 27th Avenue, you may have known that we have been working hard to address safety concerns for both areas. Again, thank you guys so much for calling in last year and letting us know the things that were important to all of you. Thanks to the leadership of community groups like the Violence Impact Project, able to create the 27th Avenue Community Safety Plan. Thank you as well to our city manager for all of his hard work on this and his dedication to this. This is a $5 million investment from the city to address community safety to collaboration with multiple city departments and using technology and community-based resources. The plan includes new technology that can pinpoint where a gun is fired and also help our police identify those with a warrant for arrest. So far, we have removed tens of thousands of pills of fentanyl and hundreds of grams of meth from the streets. We have also worked hard to activate neighbors, helping create 2 neighborhood associations and sponsor community cleanups. We have partnered with our local schools and faith organizations and seen incredible support for our efforts. Thanks to everyone that was there on March 25th when we did our latest cleanup. Similarly, along 19th Avenue, we have created a community safety plan with a $3 million investment. Our goal is to work with area residents, businesses, patrons, and students to detect and respond to crime and create safe public spaces. We want to ensure that folks experiencing homelessness and those with mental and behavioral health issues get access to the services they need. That 19th Avenue Community Safety Plan will also utilize improved technology to support our public safety departments. And I know some of the technology is still not installed, but we're hearing that we will have most of it up by either June or July. And as everyone knows, it's a supply chain issue. Can we go now to our big project, Innovation 27? This is going to be a big pride for our community, a big staple for this corridor, for the 27th Avenue corridor. I know that there have been some rumors flying around about what is happening with the vacant Kmart property at Northern and the I-17. Not sure if all of you guys have had a chance to read the press release that was released yesterday. And I want to lay the rumors to rest once again and let the folks know that the city of Phoenix is using federal money sent to us in the America Rescue Plan. We have purchased this property. And so everyone just needs to understand that the city has purchased this property with ARPA funding, and the ARPA funding has very strict rules. And we have to use the money for what we said to use it for. And we said that we're gonna bring this great facility, a training and education collaborative with all the different partners that we have talked about. So I'm gonna list them here. So we are working with our partners at Arizona State University, the Maricopa Community College District, and Westmac to create a workforce and educational collaborative called Innovation 27. So this is what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be a facility for folks that are experiencing homelessness. This is what the city and myself committed to all of you, and this is what we are doing. Our goal is to have the facility up and running for students and those looking to retrain or reskill by the fall of 2024. So you guys can hold us to that date. I know that our city manager, Chris Mackey, everyone at the city is pushing incredibly hard to make sure that this facility is a huge success. So upcoming bond and CIP. So this is a little bit more good news. This November, you will have an opportunity to vote on the bond that will bring $500 million worth of investment into our city. This will include new and improved facilities like fire stations, senior centers. Specifically for this community, I'm very excited to say that the single largest investment in our library system will be proposed $10.6 million expansion of Yucca at the Yucca Library, right? And this is right in the middle of this community. So you guys should be very proud of that investment. This will be an incredible resource for our families, bringing additional space and opportunities for our children and students. And then another piece of great news, the Washington Activity Center, where we are sitting right now, was unfortunately not allocated funding for upgrades, and I heard a lot about that in this upcoming bond, but I am very happy to announce tonight that we have worked with our incredible Parks Department, and we were able to locate additional funding to invest $2 million in upgrades and improvements for this center. So the center is gonna look amazing once we are done with it. Now, another piece of great news also for our Washington Park is I want to give a huge thanks once again to our Parks Department, because now this pool is now going to be open for this summer. It's been, the last time this pool was open was in 2019. And since then, it had not been able to be open. And I think that's thanks to the fact, that everyone spoke up. We were able to give a little bit of a raise to our lifeguards. We've been able to retain lifeguards. We are able now to train supervisors, folks that are now 72% of our lifeguards and supervisors are staying. So now we are able to open up a lot more pools. And Washington Park is going to be one of them. So you guys should be excited, be happy. We're going to have a lot more activation into this park. Now we're going to talk about one of my other favorite subjects, and it's the gated alley program. So let's look at this, right? Look at all the great work that you guys are doing. I am very happy to wrap things up and turn the meeting over to our city manager. But first, I just want to talk about our gated alley program. When I first came onto council, the gated alley program was an experimental pilot program. Thanks to the city council, thanks to our city manager that's sitting here with us, that he came in, kicking butt, making sure that he was listening to all the concerns that we had throughout the community. Now the gated alley program is part of the city budget. And a lot of you guys are going to be getting your alleys gated. I'm trying to find the number here. This program is a permanent and funded city budget program. Just in this neighborhood we have worked with residents to help install 6 alley segments, and we have another 15 more coming this fiscal year. So we are very excited. I think we are one of the, don't tell everyone, but everyone's gonna find out that we are the district office, that has gotten the most alley segments and the most alleys gated. So thanks to all of our neighbors, but then kudos as well to Emmanuel, who's sitting here. Emmanuel, raise your hand. Thank you for all of your hard work, Emmanuel. And then Melina, who's been a great addition to this team that does a lot of great work in the community. She came in, she hit the floor running. She really likes us. She likes to work hard. So we are very excited to have her. And of course, Michael, who also does a great job. So all of this investment, all of this hard work is thanks to my team. Andrew's not here tonight. He couldn't join us tonight, but it's thanks to Andrew, Michael, Melina, Eman, and of course, to our city manager. And with that, I'm going to hand it over back to him. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guardado, and I do want to also echo her sentiments. You have an amazing staff, and you've done great things for your neighborhood and for your district, so thank you. I'm going to be very brief tonight. As former budget director and now city manager with my counterpart, Amber Williamson, who is the current budget director, she replaced me in the position. I want to let you know how important tonight is. When we formulate the city manager's trial budget, it's to gain feedback, to see what you think about what we're proposing for the community. And I think right now, being the 5th largest city in the country, not many cities our size can say they're in the position that we're in. We're sitting in a very strong position because we had very strong leadership and made very smart, strategic, long-range decisions about how we were going to manage our budget through COVID and after COVID. We sit today with a $134 million surplus, which is, again, a city our size does not have that right now post-COVID. A lot of cities had to cut people, lay off staff, cut programs, cut services. We've been expanding the last 3 years, even during COVID. That's a testament to your leadership of your mayor and your council. And so I want to give a few moments to acknowledge that. I also want to say that tonight's budget it's very important that you speak out and say what you like and you don't like. So we do have cards in the back for those of you that want to speak. Please fill out a card, make sure it makes its way up to us, and we'll get you an opportunity to come up to the microphone and speak. If you don't want to speak, you can also fill out a card and we'll still enter your comments and sentiments into the record. We get those to council every week. We do a budget report that kind of recaps everyone that commented at a budget hearing, email, phone call, or our Fund Phoenix tool. So please make sure that you take an opportunity to give us feedback, because it's really important. The other thing that you'll hear about in this video that we're about to show that I'm really excited about, council gave me a lot of latitude when I was given this job, and one of the things I was most excited about was to work with my budget director and my CFO to develop a bond program. It's been 16 years since we've had a bond program. A city our size should have a bond program every 5 to 7 years. We haven't had one since 2006. So facilities like this, in our roads, in our parks, in our libraries, in our pools, the only way we keep those fresh is to have bond programs, reoccurring bond programs. What we are laying out starting this November with this $500 million program, our goal is to do 4 bond programs over the next 20 years, spread 5 years apart, $2 billion worth of investment into the city of Phoenix. And we're doing that without raising the property tax rate. I think that's extremely important to emphasize. And so that was a vision that we had, and the council gave us an opportunity to bring it to fruition. We've had lots of feedback, so you'll hear about some of those great programs and projects in the video tonight. The bond program, that is not necessarily up for discussion. Those projects have been identified through a very robust process. But the rest of the budget, we are trying to do a little bit different this year. We have a $134 million surplus. About $114 million of that is being allocated to our employees. And there's a reason for that. Between the Great Recession and COVID, our employees had to do a lot of work. And there were times where they took pay cuts, took furloughs, and we weren't taking care of our employees the way that we should have been. So our commitment this year is to make sure that our employees are taken care of, because we accomplished nothing without our employees. And I firmly believe we got the best employees in the entire country. And I think we can make our city a shining beacon for every city to want to be like Phoenix and emulate Phoenix. The rest of our budget is laid out to provide very vital programs and services that we've been talking about: fire stations, parks, dealing with our unsheltered population and things of that nature. But I'll turn it over to the video, and then we'll come back after the video. We'll start reading names off for folks to come and make comments. And just make sure that we fill out as many cards as possible, because we're here to take your feedback. So Amber, you want to cue up the video?
The City of Phoenix trial budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, proposed by the Phoenix City Manager, is ready for public review and comment. A trial budget is a rough draft of the actual budget, estimating how much money and how it will be used for the next fiscal year. How does Phoenix's annual budget work? The city budget is made up of 3 parts: the general fund, enterprise funds, and special revenue funds. The general fund is made up of city sales tax, property taxes, revenue distributed by the state from income tax, sales and vehicle license taxes, and some fines and fees. The general fund supports many of the services our residents, visitors, and businesses have come to expect in Phoenix, such as libraries, parks, senior and youth programs, police and fire services, and more. Enterprise funds are those city departments that only charge the people who use their services directly, like water and sewer, airlines and passengers in Sky Harbor, and trash and recycling customers. Finally, special revenue funds reserved for specific purposes, from grants and voter-approved sales taxes dedicated for parks and preserves, transportation, and public safety. That's how Phoenix gets its money. Now, how do we spend it? Phoenix has a long history of responsible budgeting, ensuring resources are balanced to projected expenses each fiscal year. A top priority of the City Council is to ensure the public can engage in the budget development process every year, giving the community a voice in the future of our city. Residents have multiple opportunities to provide their input ahead of final budget decision-making scheduled for May 16th. Each year, departments look at what it will take to provide services for the upcoming year, and staff forecast what resources will be available to pay for services. The city manager then proposes a trial budget in March each year that identifies how resources should best be allocated to achieve city council and community priorities. Then, we ask for your input at community budget hearings in April each year by using the Fund Phoenix interactive budget tool available in English and Spanish, or by contacting the city directly to ensure the budget reflects the priorities of our residents and city council. After receiving your input, the city council will vote on the budget in May and legally adopt the budget in June each year. State law requires the city's budget to be balanced each year, and this year we are happy to report a projected budget surplus of $134 million. This is thanks to Phoenix's continued strong economy and sound fiscal leadership from the mayor and city council. For fiscal year 2023-24, the proposed general fund trial budget proposes to allocate the surplus primarily to address employee compensation. The city is experiencing significant vacancies across all city departments due to the competitive labor market, and increases are necessary so we can ensure our most valuable asset is paid competitively and positions can be filled with the best talent available to deliver services to you. This year's trial budget also includes $14 million in general fund money proposed to programs and services in city council and community priority areas. Focus Area 1, continuing services for vulnerable populations. To ensure vulnerable populations can continue receiving vital services that are at risk due to expiring or reduced grant funding, and increase resources used to help individuals experiencing homelessness, substance abuse, and behavioral health issues, $7.4 million is proposed to support the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, Victims Advocacy Services, and expand the Behavioral Health Engagement Team's contract. The funds proposed would also expand the Phoenix Cares Outreach Program to increase resources focusing on targeted areas in the city with high concentrations of encampments requiring cleanup, and continue operations next fiscal year at shelters serving 420 individuals per night and approximately 1,300 each year. Focus Area 2, enhancing public safety responsiveness and criminal justice. To help improve emergency response times across the city, $3.5 million is proposed for the Phoenix Fire Department for an additional rescue unit and to fully staff a new fire station located at 19th Avenue and Chandler Boulevard. As part of the Phoenix Police Department's focus on civilianization efforts, new positions are included for civilian investigators and police assistants within the department, along with training and crime scene specialists. Costs will be absorbed in the existing police department operating budget for fiscal year 2023-24. This proposal also includes additional resources for the law department to replace grant funding that will be reduced next fiscal year used to provide services to victims of crime. Focus Area 3, healthy neighborhoods and community enrichment. To expand the city's efforts toward equity and arts, $125,000 is proposed to increase funding for the Community Arts Grants Program that supports renters at Herberger Theater Center and other local venues. Also, a new project manager position to help manage and coordinate the Office of Arts and Culture's model for involving artists in designing and building a better city. The cost for this position will be paid for with existing capital project funds. A proposed $571,000 for the Neighborhood Services Department would add funding to expand the Gated Alley program, providing resources to install approximately 77 new gated alley segments each year, and restore 2 grant-funded neighborhood inspector positions to the general fund, which will free up grant resources used to serve low and moderate income residents. In an effort to increase park security and advance the city's climate action plan, $2 million is proposed for the Parks and Recreation Department to hire 14 park rangers and 1 park manager to create 2 urban park ranger teams that will work overnight. The addition of an overnight third shift will provide coverage 24 hours per day, 7 days a week at city parks. The proposed funds will also add more staff to expand tree planting and shade canopy efforts citywide, and add a new volunteer coordinator to assist in the coordination of volunteer efforts throughout city parks. Non-general fund supplementals total $1.4 million. Due to growth and security needs at the airport, $917,000 is proposed for 2 new access agents for badging services and to add vehicles needed for the Airport Bureau. $488,000 is proposed to support technology and streamlining of services provided by the Planning and Development Department, including managing the Shape Phoenix permitting system, enhanced electronic plan review, and staff to support increased human resource activity. In addition, $1 million is reserved for possible changes to the trial budget based on resident feedback on the budget, and $5 million will go to the General Fund Contingency, or Rainy Day Fund, to ensure resources are available in the event of unexpected economic or financial events. This has been just a taste of what you will find in the 2023-24 City of Phoenix proposed trial budget. More information on the proposed budget is available at our website, Phoenix.gov/budget. We encourage you to provide your input using Fund PHX, an interactive budget tool available in English and Spanish that lets you provide direct feedback on the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 trial budget additions. We hope that you'll review additional details in the budget tabloid available at each budget hearing in English and Spanish and online at Phoenix.gov/budget. Please share your feedback in whatever way works best for you at one of the community budget hearings or by email at budget.research@phoenix.gov. You can comment on the city's social media pages at City of Phoenix AZ on Facebook or on Twitter using hashtag PHXBudget or call us at 602-262-4800. All resident feedback will be shared with the City Council so they may consider it before making final budget decisions. The City Manager will present his proposed budget for 2023-2024 to the Phoenix City Council on May 2nd, 2023. The Council's budget decision will take place on May 16th, 2023. Thank you for being a part of this important process. We look forward to hearing your ideas for this year's trial budget and the future of Phoenix. And now to an informational update on the City Council approved 2023 General Obligation Bond Program. In December, the City Council approved a General Obligation Bond Program to advance to the voters in the upcoming November 7th election. General obligation bonds, also known as GO bonds, provide a mechanism for the city to fund the construction and rehabilitation of city facilities and infrastructure such as parks, libraries, fire stations, police precincts, community centers, streets and storm drains, and arts facilities. A GO bond program requires voter approval and cannot be used to fund operating costs like staff salaries or to fund assets in which the city has no legal interest. Phoenix voters have approved 12 GO bond programs since 1957, totaling $4.6 billion, with the last GO bond program approved by voters in 2006. This 17-year gap is the longest in the city's bond program history and has resulted in a significant amount of unfunded capital needs. In 2022, Phoenix City Council appointed a Citizens GO Bond Committee to identify the highest priority unfunded capital needs, totaling $500 million. In the fall, committee members met to review capital needs identified by city departments and heard proposals and input from the public. After 3 months of committee deliberation and extensive public input, the committee recommended a proposed $500 million GO bond program to Phoenix City Council. The City Council approved GO bond programs include projects in the areas of arts and culture, economic development and education, environment and sustainability, housing, human services and homelessness, neighborhoods and city services, parks and recreation, public safety, and streets and storm drainage. The program includes projects such as a new Latino cultural center, acquiring land for Rio Reimagined, affordable housing property preservation, a new senior and recreation center, new regional pools, and improvements to existing community centers and park facilities, funding for heat resiliency projects, Vision Zero roadway safety initiatives, new and expanded library branches, and new and renovated fire stations throughout the city to improve response times. The full list of projects and programs is available on the city's website at phoenix.gov/bond. Voters will decide the outcome of the City Council approved GO bond program during a November 7th, 2023 bond election. Election materials, including an informational pamphlet with more detail about the bond program, will be mailed to all voters in the fall ahead of the election.
So that concludes our video and kind of summarizes at a very high level what we've got planned in our operating budget that we're talking about this evening, but also gives you a little high-level understanding of what we're proposing in the 2023 bond program. And with that, I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Guardado, who will call names and ask folks to come down and speak.
Thank you so much. So we are gonna start, our first speaker is gonna be Santa. Hi, come on, you wanna come up?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Santosh Bugata. Good evening, Betty. Good evening, Amber, and sorry, I didn't get your name, City Manager. Yeah. Today I'm representing Cricket Association of Phoenix. I've been living in this valley for almost 15 years, and we've been playing over various baseball fields, but we don't have ourselves one cricket ground. Okay. So just to give you numbers, I'm a number guy. I work in IT, and cricket is the number two sports in the entire world, actually, after football or soccer. That's what we call it, right? So we have 2028 Olympics being held in Los Angeles, and for the first time in entire, I think, 100 years of cricket history, we are successful in getting the cricket as 2028 Olympics, which is being held in Los Angeles. Coming to Arizona, we have 3.6% of Asian population. Out of 7 million, that's about 200K, and we have close to 100K Indian population. Out of which we have 40 teams that play across the North Phoenix. Just the North Phoenix, we have 40 teams, which accounts about 2,000 cricket playing population. South Phoenix has approximately 25 teams. Unfortunately, we don't have anything related to cricket. I've been paying approximately 100K per annum to the North Phoenix just to reserve baseball fields. And I've been also volunteering at various city schools, developing school grounds into cricket pitches at my own, sponsorship. But what I want to have is a proper cricketing facility. We have identified 3 to 4 facilities which we can submit in the comment card. And we really want you guys to listen to us like every year, but this time please act on it. I've been doing this since 2014. Back then Rosanna Shrimp was a Northwest Division manager for Parks and Recreation. Now it's Darvis, so I'm not sure if he's here. But yeah, just to let you know, we really need this to get going for the 2028 Olympics mission. And along with me, there are 85 kids ranging from ages 5 to 14 who've been feeding on leftovers of other sports. Last to conclude, pickleball, which has been in last 5 years, it has been vastly developed. I commend their, unity and everything. Unfortunately, we are not even getting 1% of the traction that pickleball is getting. So not to blame anyone, I'm just pleading here with utmost sincerity and honesty. Anything to contribute from our end and help the sport spread into the American, Indian, as well as entire community. I'm here to support and work with you guys in getting it done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And any information you have, please leave it with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we are going to go with Tim. Is Tim here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if I need a mic. I'm a retired City of Phoenix employee. I'm a retired police officer. So community is something that is inbred in my life for about the last 40 years. Two things I wanted to present today was we are part of the selection that were...
Use the microphone just so we can get you on tape. It's on.
Is on? Okay. One of the things I want to thank the councilwoman and the city council is the gated community. I happen to live in an alley that accesses La Padera Park on 39th Avenue. And my alley, I set up a ring camera because I've had everything from people having sex in my alley to starting fires to you name it. So I hate alleys. As a cop, I hated alleys, and I will tell you to this day I hate alleys. There's no reason for it. But because we were able to get this gated program started in our neighborhood, we're going to have 2 gated alleys adjacent to the La Paderas Park area. That, I think, is something that the city needs to take that program, look at it. If you go over to 51st Avenue in Glendale, just south, you'll see that the city of Glendale, they didn't put wrought iron up. They put chain link up. But they have all their alleys gated. It's an area that is, for our community, can be safer. Coupled with that, I tell you about the foot traffic. One of the things I'm appalled at is the amount of homeless folks that we see. My neighbor and I do the neighborhood patrol in our community, and we have a 1 mile area that we patrol. We have seen an influx of homeless folks, or I don't know, what do you call them? Unsheltered folks. 35th Avenue in Roby was a big place. They moved from there to an easement. Now I have 6 homeless camps in Lapidares Park. My neighbor can't even walk his dog because of the homeless folks, or the unsheltered folks. We need to do something, and I don't know the answer. I know that we can't tolerate the folks. I use the 311 system to contact Phoenix Cares about these different little segments that we run across. And I will tell you that it kicks you out of the 311 system, makes you re-enter another system, and you're not allowed to put any of that information. So that system, or the Phoenix Care system, is not working. And the city council, if you're gonna look at money to spend somewhere, get a system that works.
Yes,
Because it's not working.
not working.
I can't upload photographs. I've contacted, when I can't get anything into the system, I've actually physically called, and I get the same response. Well, we can't direct these people to do anything. We can go and offer them services. I don't care. I haven't seen anybody offer any services. The other thing is when I've talked to the police department, they're always telling you the numbers of the Phoenix Care is reduced. I mean, you're talking less than 1% of the folks that they make contact with that want services. That's not going to work. It's not working here. It didn't work in Los Angeles. It's not working anywhere else in the country. The fact is that we need to decide how we're going to address this and take a powerful step forward and say, you know what? We're not going to tolerate these people invading our neighborhoods. You know, our parks, our resources. We pay the taxes. I confront a lady that came in front of that was in my alley. She set up her little tent, her flower bed. She had her firewood, and she turns around and she looks at me and she says, God don't like no ugly. I said, you know what? Look in the mirror, lady. I pay taxes here. Do you? And she doesn't. You know, and then I get the cuss words to go with it. We can't tolerate this anymore. And I will tell you, of being a police officer for 36 years in this city, that I'm 68 years old now, and I'm still fighting to keep my neighborhood. And I can see some heads nodding here because they're all experiencing the same thing. And something has to be done. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will go with Cindy Graver.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm not prepared to speak, but I decided today that I'm going to speak. On Sunday, I was reading the newspaper, and it says, in the Valley State, it says, community budget allots more funds for neighborhoods, less for police. This article says that they want to take out half of the police budget. What's it say? $465 million to go someplace else other than the police. Well, some of you know me, and the ones that do know me know that I spend more than 40 hours a week on City of Phoenix things, trying to make Phoenix better because I love Phoenix. I'm a fourth-generation native. I have 1,200 seniors that live along 19th Avenue. I have 5,600 kids, and their life matters. And you know, we've had so much crime, so many criminal transients. We don't have a homeless problem on 19th Avenue in Glendale. We have drugs, and we have a lot of drugs. Our light rail is a mess. We have no security on light rail. I've been trying to work with light rail to get more security. We're 50% still under. Our police would like to go on light rail, but we don't have enough money in the budget for the police to go on light rail. In the last several months, there's been machetes hitting people in the head, cutting them. There's been knives. There's been terrible stuff's happening on light rail. And the reason why I can say that is because I know. I go on light rail. I actively go on light rail so I can see what's happening on light rail. Zero security. So let me tell you another couple things. In the last 6 months, I've had my Suburban stolen. It was recovered 3 days later. The Suburban was in mint condition, it was stolen from my home. I had 4 feet of trash, police reports, court documents, dildos, and then I had blood all over my Suburban because they cut the catalytic converter and they bled out inside of the car. So we got DNA. So that was back in October. The DNA still hasn't come back, and the reason why is because we're shorthanded. We need more police officers. So then going forward, just a month and a half ago, I had someone trying to steal one of my properties. Yes, I did. And so fortunately, we had specialty crimes that I had to talk to them because they were trying to bogusly take driver's license and other things. And so I've been working with the FBI. I've been working with the Attorney General. I've been working with everyone in regards to this real estate fraud that's out there that's absolutely rampant everywhere. Then last night, my husband came home. We were going to go for a walk with the dog, and he went to go change. I went downstairs, and the dog ran out by the pool and was barking hysterically, came back in, collapsed right in front of me, and I didn't know what happened, so I told my husband, I said, we got to take our dog to the vet. Well, we did, got the dog in the car, took the dog to the vet. There was a criminal transient that had gone through the alley, jumped in my backyard, was in my backyard for over 3 hours, which I have pictures of this gentleman, and he kicked my dog and killed my dog. So you know what? I want more police, and I want a safe city. I want every single person, every single child to be able to go to bed and be safe. I want every single senior that lives along 19th Avenue to feel safe. We need to be safe, and that's what we need is a safe city. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to Craig Tripton.
Hi, my name's Craig Tripkin. Can you hear me? And I'm with A New Leaf. And I've got to say, I heard the concerns about homelessness. I used to be with Cass. A lot of you know me. Hold it close to your mouth. Okay, a lot of you know me. Oh, a lot of you know me from when I worked with Cass and worked with Zoning Project Haven. I'll be quick with this. But I got to tell you, as a person who has been in the homeless business for a long time, I think that the homeless industrial complex, as I sometimes call it, we're our own worst enemies in a lot of respects. I say we. I tend to be a little rogue because I'm old enough that I don't have to worry about losing my job with this stuff. But I say that to say that I agree. I was a council member once, and I understand very much what neighborhoods are saying. I'm here though to tell you about A New Leaf briefly, and to ask you to fund $250,000 for Phoenix Day Early Education Center. You've got some information on your desk I put there. A New Leaf is a very broad-based organization We do everything from behavioral health, domestic violence, emergency shelter, homeless services, housing, early education, as I said, and more than job training, more than I can remember when I reel off a list like that. And one of the things we do is the early education center. It's downtown Phoenix at 101, 115 Tonto, and we were looking at COVID, as you probably understand, hammered a lot of things. One of the things it really hammers is school attendance and school teachers. And that's what we faced. We were down to 40 students during the pandemic. And now, we were looking at $1 million deficit last June. And we said, we can't sustain this. We can't keep doing this. And so what we said was, let's make a plan. Let's make a plan to get out of this. And if the plan doesn't work, then we'll go to plan B. And I can't tell you what plan B is, but we go to plan B. So we made a plan to, by March, get our census from the 40. When we made this plan, we were at 60, by the way, to get our census up to 85 kids. We're pushing 90 right now, and we've done that successfully. We're going to be at 120 by June, and by spring of next year, we're going to be at 121. And at that point, we believe that it'll be sustainable, and that whatever shortages we have, private fundraising will be able to make up for it. So I'm very comfortable with that. I guess I'll close by saying we made this plan. I understand that you guys, understandably, don't want to allocate money year after year after year to certain things. Well, we made a plan to do it with one-time injection, and I feel like we're doing our part, and I hope you will help us out. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will go with Ann Ender.
Good evening. My name's Ann Ender. I am proud to work with many of these folks here as a neighborhood leader. I'm not going to take too long, but I'm going to opine just for 1 second, so bear with me. I'm not an expert on the unsheltered, but I know from a personal experience that people do not get over being addicted to drugs or substances without consequences. And until we start putting our foot down and stop babying folks and asking them if they want to go to services, nothing's going to change. And we're going to keep spending the city's money, and our businesses and our homes are going to continue to lose value. Okay. But what I would like to ask, and what I'm very passionate about, is that clearly one of our greatest expenditures in this budget is the public safety budget. And it seems like every year that is the one that gets targeted the most to be reallocated. But I'm going to ask you all as a community to support this and ask the city to really protect that budget, because we need public safety. And we don't have public safety without these folks that put a uniform on every day or that go out and put fires out. Right now, and this is as a few weeks ago, we have 2,565 top to bottom Phoenix Police Department employees. 961 of them are covering a city of 1.6 million on patrol. Do you think that's enough? No. Okay, so let's protect this budget. Let's not move it. That budget, if I'm not mistaken, is for retainment, recruitment. Let's keep it in there, and let's get the help we need and have a safe city, and then we'll see our call times go down. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley? You're up.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'll try not to talk too much. Use the mic. Hi. Wow. I've heard all of these stories. And I looked at this budget thing here, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But the pages that I want to focus on are the gated alley program. We need more funding. We need to just gate the alley. I'm going to give you examples. I got 2 alleys gated in my neighborhood. The first thing that everyone said is, I can go out in my backyard and don't have to worry about being accosted. Second thing, I can go out and my grandkids go out and no one's throwing syringes over the fence when the police come to question them. The third thing I heard was, wow, I don't have those fentanyl headaches anymore when I go out back. These are just 2 alleys in my neighborhood. So what happened? Those are the ones on the south part of my neighborhood. Well, those little encampments are going north. So I've already petitioned to get about 5 more gated. But I'm just going to tell you that gating alleys works, and more funding would be wonderful. Although, yes, as much as you can give us, and I'm just telling you, they do work. I mean, just as an example, you know, I had one woman who just would cry. I mean, they literally were crying. They were so afraid to go out in their yard. And to see them say, wow, I can go out there, I can sit. Oh, and the other one they took me out to see, which I really didn't really want to see, was where they used the bathroom. They had a little area out there, and one side was yellow and the other side was brown. So that's no longer there, so that's wonderful. And when I looked at this pamphlet, the other thing, and I had suggested this, and I'm thrilled, thank you very much, I hope this happens, is 24/7 in our parks. Hallelujah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know there's already someone, I live just north of Salito Park, and that was one of the alleys that was gated. They fenced the north side of the park, and then they gated the alley. We add at times 40 to 60 encampments along that alley. So it's been wonderful, but to know that when they started talking about the parks, I even suggested, why get a private company? Let's pay our own staff. Let's have 24/7 park. I'm an RN, we did 24/7. I don't know why park rangers can't do 20. It's 12-hour shifts, you know, and it works. And just to know that that's happening, and we're working very hard now to take Salito Park back because people were not going there. One of the moms said, why should I take my daughter to the park when she can see sex happening? You know? And unfortunately, to get that fence put up, someone had to get shot in that park while she was exercising. That's what got the fence put up, that closed that alley. So those are important things. Alleys, alleys, alleys. I'm all for alleys. And police. Now, when you look at this, oh, I took my glasses off. When you look at this pamphlet, it looks like you're not giving any money to the police. What is this? I don't understand how this is read. It's very confusing. So
I can touch base with you.
If you would
on
explain that to
so
me, I'd appreciate
the
that.
police department budget right now, as Ms. Ender mentioned, they're about 2,500 filled. Budgetarily, they have capacity for up to 3,125. Their authorized count is north of that, probably somewhere close to 3,500. And I'm going off memory, so don't necessarily quote me on it, but they're pretty close. So they've had a hard time filling, which is partly a lot of the reason that we talked about adding $114 million to employee compensation. We also advanced and accelerated the police department class and comp study ahead of everybody else, knowing that we were trying to get those positions filled. So their budget did grow year over year. So if you look at last year's budget compared to this year's budget, their budget does increase. A lot of that increase is largely because of the growth in their pension-related costs. But we are not taking anything away from the police department. We're just simply acknowledging the fact that they're going to have significant salary savings because they're not able to keep pace with billing. And so until they get to a point where they need additional resources over and above, we're kind of keeping their budget whole and funding some of their other positions out of that salary savings until they get to a place where additional funding is actually warranted or needed.
Okay, that's like this first one is the 20 civilian investigators.
Correct.
So what you're saying is that even though that's almost $2 million right there, that's already there.
Correct.
The money's already
The
there.
money's already there.
So it's not showing up in this budget.
Correct.
So
It's a
people
net zero cost of this year's budget because they've got enough savings queued up to cover the cost of it.
from positions that
From
weren't filled.
vacancies.
I just wanted to clarify in my mind.
Yep.
Jeff kind of explained that. Thank you, Jeff. But I had to ask the
Jeff's been around a long time.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I don't work for the city, so, you know, but the other thing is I'm thrilled to hear that the libraries are getting money. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. And that's part of the bond issue, so I'm going to be voting for that. And my kids used the Yucca Library for many, 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 many years. It is one of the smallest libraries in the library system, and it's up for some expansion. Yay, yay. I will will tell you that when the Burton Bar Library had its issues, Yucca got bombarded, overwhelmed. So it's way due to be expanded. It's been there 50 years. So, all right. That's my take on it. So let's get our alleys gated. Let's keep our police funded, and yay for the park rangers. Yes.
Thank you, Curdy. And just to clarify, with the increases that we did for the police department, the reports that we are getting from Chief Sullivan is that the academy has a lot more students now than what it's had in the past. So the number of police officers, I know we wanted them 3 years ago, I get it, but the reports that we're getting from the chief is that we are growing that number. We have a lot more students that are going through the academy, and our retention is getting a lot better because of the increases that we just did. So with that, I'm gonna call up Jeff Spellman.
Good evening, everybody. Councilwoman, thank you so much for the acknowledgement of all the great things that you've led so far in this area, Innovation 27 being at the top of our list. Really appreciate that. Mr. Barton, Ms. Williamson, thank you for all of your work and support in the past. Thank you for the great work you've done in preparing this trial budget. I think it's exceptional as it is. I definitely want to highlight a couple of things in here. One, community and economic development. You already heard about the great work that's been done through that department. It's really the work of that department that brought Innovation 27 to us. So giving them some additional resources I think will help, as well as that position being able to leverage opportunities for federal grants and so forth like that, I think will be very, very helpful. Human services, you know, the people experiencing homelessness are near and dear to my heart, and the impacts that that has on our neighborhoods. I served on your task force. We presented those recommendations. I see some of those things outlined in here, particularly in the homeless emergency services for the new campus. You heard from Craig Tripkin and other people. We definitely need additional services, ongoing costs to support these facilities. Scott Hall is doing an amazing job at eating the elephant, because it is a huge problem in our community. The man is amazing. I hope we don't kill him trying to get this job done. Yeah. He's doing a good job, so we appreciate that. You know that the Haven is the first smaller specialized shelter in the entire city. Our neighborhood accepted the very first one. Yeah. We set the standard for where that's going. We set the standard for good neighbor agreements and how those things are going to operate in our community. And we also got behind the CBI shelter up at 25th and Peoria, which was very controversial. So anyway, this is good in here that you've got additional resources coming for them. I think Scott will do a good job managing those if we can get those additional resources to him. You already heard Shirley talk about the Park Ranger program. Very supportive of that program. I do have a comment about that. And many of us sat in this room when the Parks Department was creating their new code of conduct. And one of the things we asked over and over and over again about that is, how do we tell the park rangers? How do we get information to them when we see violations of the code of conduct? There is absolutely no way for us to contact those park rangers. There's a phone number on the sign at the park that goes to an office that's operated Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And just like you heard so many things, things don't happen so much Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They happen nights and weekends. We need a way to contact them. Parks used to have a dispatch number that operated at least till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Most of us probably went up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But we need a number that, you know, nights and weekends, we can get a hold of the park rangers and tell them the things that we're seeing going on. We're the eyes and ears out there. Even with these additional positions, they can't be everywhere all the time. They count on us to tell them what's going on. We want a way to get that information to them. The last thing that I just want to mention is with the police. You know, I know they struggle with positions and things like that, and we've mentioned this before. There are some things that are very hard, and especially when the police are dealing with people experiencing homelessness, impounding their property, trying to do it the right way so that we don't get into trouble and things like that. And I've made an example of it over and over and over again. The Transit Bureau does a very good job with this. The Transit Bureau does a very good job. I think they only have, I think they're down to 9 officers now. One of their officers was seriously hurt this last week. And the way they are efficient is through the use of these police assistants. The police do what the police need to do to deal with the crime, and then they hand it over to the civilians to do the impounding of the property and all this follow-up work. And that's how they get so much done. Transit is out there keeping our bus stops safe and areas around those bus stops. I don't know how 9 guys do it for this entire city, but when I call Lieutenant Schweikert and say, I got a problem at the bus stop here, usually within a few hours his team is out there. And that's how they do it. So I'm really pleased that you're looking for more police assistance to support patrol, because that's what I've said. Either give transit some more cops to do that job better, or give the patrol divisions some more of those police assistants so they can do it the way transit does. Because I know patrol officers can't deal with all of that stuff and answer all the calls they've got. So that's a great job in that. I really support this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Marvin, Scott? He left. Okay, thank you. Annie Elvin?
Good evening. My name is Annie Elvin, and good evening to Councilwoman Guardado and Jeff Barton and Andrew Williamson. First of all, thank you so much for adding a virtual budget hearing, which will be on April 11th at 5:30 p.m. If anyone knows someone else who needs to come, I really, really appreciate, and everyone involved really appreciate for you adding that on. So thank you. And then on to some of my points here. I was asked that you allocate at least $1 million to the projects for bike lanes, protected bike lanes from Lincoln all the way to Washington, and then from Washington to Roosevelt. They are currently 2 separate projects, and they should really be one project. And ultimately, this is really to connect the Rio Salado Bridge, for which we received a huge grant from the United States Department of Transportation. And I think it would look really poorly on Phoenix if we didn't connect this wonderful bridge to the rest of the city of Phoenix. And so connecting the bridge through these projects of protected bike lanes from Lincoln all the way to Roosevelt would be amazing. Another thing I'd like to ask is for the City of Phoenix Police Department to create a program or designate someone to find and ticket any cars parked illegally in bike lanes. The City of Phoenix has been fantastic about creating lots of bike lanes for us, but if cars are parked in them, we can't use them. And so then we're forced out into the streets, and it's very dangerous for probably everyone. And so if there's any way to make a program that will ticket cars parked illegally in bike lanes. And then lastly, I asked that there be a program for forthcoming from today and every other year to have a virtual and or hybrid budget hearings. I mean, I and everyone here was fortunate enough to make it here tonight, even though I went to the wrong location initially, so I'm glad I made it. But a lot of people weren't, due to transportation issues, due to sickness, due to childcare, and I think virtual and or hybrid budget hearings is a really good option for more people to speak up. And there is really something important and valuable about speaking up to your council member, even if it's not in person, because as long as it is in the same time, it's still incredibly valuable. So I really hope that there will be some funding for that. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And now our final speaker will be Sinclair.
First of all, thank you, Councilwoman Guardado and your staff at D5. One of the best districts and the best council offices that I've ever seen. And I really commend you for that. Yes. And thank you, Manager Barton, for being a good steward of the budget. And thank you as well to the officers back in uniform. We do respect your service, and I think that that's an important thing that we need to pay attention to. Our budgets reflect our values, and public safety is a prerequisite for our prosperity. So I think we need to look at our budget going to public safety being one of the foremost things that we can do. And one of my concerns is that we need to be spending even more. If we're going to get the officers that we need in uniform, we're going to have, the best way to do it that I know of is to pay more. That'll get them into uniform. And we're going to need more than just $3,500. I think that puts us at a shortfall compared to other cities of comparable size that are not nearly the geographic size of Phoenix. So I'm all for more, but then the question is, where does that come from? And that's part of my question to Mr. Barton with ARPA funds and post-COVID funds, CARES funds, and other things. How are we going to make up that gap that exists, and not just make up, but exceed that gap? Clearly, the GO bond is going to be an important thing, but then above and beyond that, and so that's my question to you, but I'll throw out one more thing and before I sit down, and this is kind of a personal issue for me. I've been around this city long enough to remember when we used to have orchards. And I remember on a hot summer night, I'd go out and either drive or ride my bike through an orchard, and it was like an automatic air conditioner. Trees in this city are vital to surviving the summer, and I know we've got a heat mitigation office now, and I think that that's going to become more and more important. I read recently that Phoenix is considered the city most at risk to climate change. And I also know that we had at one time a tree canopy and shade program, but I don't think that we've lived up to the promise. Haven't even come close. I think we need to go a lot further in that regard, and that's something that I hope we'll do. But I'm also excited about things like the Gated Alley program, 27th Avenue, and the work that's being done there. And I'm looking forward to all those things. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Sinclair, just to address a couple of things. So the police department budget, as I mentioned earlier, the authorized count's about 3,100. So it's about 700 higher than where they currently sit. So the budget is there for that. Their budget from this year to next goes up by about $80 million in the general fund. They're about 42% of the general fund budget just by themselves. So they do occupy, to your point about representing our values, they're about almost just slightly under half of the general fund budget goes to police by itself. Our commitment to police, I think, is evident based on what we fund every year. The commitment to trying to move them forward to try and get those positions there. They were one of the first groups that we also offered retention and signing bonuses to as well to try and get those numbers up, like the councilwoman talked about. The thing that I'll go back to, I think, nothing happens overnight. You end up at a certain point because of decisions that have been made in the past. Our police department is woefully understaffed because, in my opinion, and this isn't the councilwoman because she wasn't here, but back in 2010, we made a bad decision. And that decision was to balance the specialty funds post the Great Recession through attrition. And by balancing through attrition meant that your deficit was going to get deeper and deeper, and your hiring and your staffing was going to get lower and lower. So we are now living with the impact of a decision that was made, a myopic decision at a point in time in 2010, and here we are in 2023, just finally coming out of that. And so one of the things that I think I can attest to having been budget director from 2015 to 2020, and I think the councilwoman will attest to this, I am very big on making decisions that don't benefit maybe us today, but they benefit the organization 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future. I like to think way beyond where I'm going to be, because, again, I don't want anyone to inherit what I inherited. And I don't want the councilwoman or future council people to inherit some of the things that they've had to inherit and had to deal with. So when we do our budget presentations, and Amber's a part of that, we think long-term. We do these robust 5-year forecasts. When I was budget director, we introduced things that we weren't doing before: stress testing, shocking the revenue, the Fund Phoenix tool, all those things that we're doing so that we can make sure that this city is stable economically well into the future. And that's what you always get with me. And again, I will make sure that public safety has the funds and the resources that they need to keep us all safe.
One of the things you do is you plant a tree today so that somebody can enjoy the shade 20 years from now.
And again, Sinclair, to that point, this council did and has, for the past 3 years, added additional funding to the tree and shade canopy plan. And they've added additional funding and resources, and even in this budget, there's additional positions to maintain those trees. Because in the past, we planted some of those trees, and they died the same year. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen as well.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I am very proud of this trial budget. I am very proud of our city manager, of everyone at the City of Phoenix. I think we came up with a very robust budget. I'm excited to no longer have bulk trash issues out in the streets, right? That we are going to be paying our workers the money that they deserve for all of their hard work, from our police officers to our fire department, to the guys who pick up the bulk trash, to the people that answer the phones. I'm excited to be able to do that, to be able to attract more talent into the City of Phoenix so we can continue to give you guys the quality service that you guys deserve. I heard a lot of you guys talk about being taxpayers, and we need to make sure that we own to that we give you guys the services that you guys deserve. And I'm very excited about this trial budget. I'm excited about being able to fund all the things that are important to all of you guys. And I'm excited about the bond program that's coming up and what's going to come out of that, and how our city is going to change. We've gone through very challenging and tough times, from the Great Recession to the pandemic that we all just lived a few years ago. And coming out of that, I think we're incredibly strong, but we're strong because of all of you and because of all of us being proud to live in this great city. So I want to thank all of you guys tonight for being here, and we'll hopefully see you guys when we take our final vote on this budget. Thank you guys for coming.